Welcome back to another edition of the Pioneer Sports Scouting Report. With me is Pioneer Prep Sports Editor Bob Allen, and we're going to start things off this week talking about Ferris State men's basketball. The Bulldogs have been on a hot streak as of late. They hit the road to take on a tough Wayne State team that's leading the GLIAC North right now. Bob, what are some of your thoughts on the Ferris State men's team right now as it heads toward the GLIAC tournament and some of the postseason?
I've been really impressed with them the last couple weeks here, that they've gotten balanced scoring. It hasn't been just the Kenny Brown show. Kenny Brown has definitely come through for them in this stretch. But Drew Lehman has stepped up. Stoliker has really played well. Dietrich Lever. It's not just Kenny Brown. And when you can get many people involved in the offense, you're going to become better. And I think that's what you're seeing with the Bulldogs right now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And with the last 2 years, Ferris State has won the GLIAC North. I actually think this is probably Bill Saul's best coaching job because he's been able to develop depth over the course of the year. He had Josh Fleming come off the bench to score 20 points for them the other day. You mentioned Stoliker has really stepped up. This is a big weekend for them to help improve their standings heading into the GLIAC tournament and hopefully get a home playoff game for that first round. But tonight against Wayne State is going to be a big test for them, and then senior day. The big thing, though, is obviously at some point you have to think that they are going to be in trouble without a presence of Danny Sutherland, who he's lost for the year with a broken ankle. So, any idea? Do you think this is a team that is poised to make a run in the GLIAC tournament?
Yes, they can. But the GLIAC is always pretty balanced. You got to be on your best every single night. And I think Ferris is on that road to where they are playing well every single night. So yes, they can. But in the GLIAC, you hear in football, any given Saturday, someone can be, same in the kind of basketball, any given night you can lose. So they got to really play well for the remaining stretch of the season.
Yeah, and I think that's where Brown comes in as a huge factor in their run. If he can get on one of those Kenny Brown streaks where every shot is going in, I could see him carrying them to the finals, and then you never know what happens from there. But Ferris State, definitely with a 10-game home win streak heading into this weekend, is one of the hotter teams in the league. Taking our attention now to girls high school basketball, we're looking at districts which begin next week. A lot of interest around here locally. You got Chippewa Hills, Reed City, Big Rapids, all in the same district draw. Looking at the field overall, Bob, who do you see as you have a number of teams that you believe could end up eventually being district champs?
I would put my over-under at 3. I believe Big Rapids or Reed City is going to come out of their district. I think it's Pine Rivers to win in the district they're in. And as crazy as this is going to sound, I think Morley Stanwood has a shot. I know they're like 10 or 11 wins. Kent City is going to be the team to beat in that, and they face them in the semifinals if they get that far. But if they can get past Kent City, I think they're in. So I'll put 3 could get out. I think 2 is the sure number to get out.
Well, I think the one that most people around here are interested in is that Big Rapids, Chippewa Hills, Reed City district. Reed City, I think, is a team that could really pose a threat to a Big Rapids 19-0 CSAA champs. Great season. What do you see in a potential matchup like that? Who has the advantage in that one?
If it comes to that, that's the one matchup Jessica Heiss, Big Rapids girls coach, does not want. Both games have been pretty close. In fact, the second time around at Big Rapids, it was tied going into the 4th, and then Big Rapids kind of pulled away late. She doesn't want the third match. Reed City's steadily gotten better. It'll be great to see who pulls what out, some different wrinkle the third time around. But before you get that far, you got to watch out for Claire. Claire is 17-1, 18-1, and got an all-state girl who's averaging 23.6, I believe it is, a game. So, it's going to be a fun district. It's
definitely one of the more interesting districts, and I think, the old cliche about playing a team 3 times in a season potentially with Reed City. I also remember looking back on last year's district final between Big Rapids and Reed City, one of the best high school basketball games I've seen, so definitely going to be one of interest. And one of those players for Big Rapids who will play a huge role in whether the Cardinals can capture a district title is Kendra Enzer, who is also the subject of our this week's Athlete Spotlight. Check it out, Kendra Enzer. All right, Kendra Enzer, 1,000 career points tonight and a conference champ. To have all of that happen in one evening, it's got to be a lot of emotions going through your head. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
It is a lot. I mean, like I said, I couldn't do it without my teammates, and they surprised me. I had no clue, and I don't know, they're so supportive. I couldn't do it without them or coach or anything. In the conference, it's amazing.
You know, did you know that you had a shot to get 1,000 tonight, and was that, you know, something that was in the back of your mind?
Before the season, I mean, it is one of my goals, but I wasn't really keeping track of it or not. So once it happened, it was like, oh wow.
Yeah. And then, you know, to get that, and then was that kind of a load off of your shoulders? Were you able to play with a little bit more, you know, relax the rest of the game, you feel?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, got it in the first quarter, and then you can just play the rest of my game.
Can you talk about the rest of the season now for this team, and what some of your goals are the rest of the way, obviously?
Just play one game at a time, got to give it our all, and be ready for every game. You never know what could happen.
Welcome back to the Scouting Report. With me now is Pioneer columnist Brandon Fountain. We're going to start off talking a little bit of Detroit Tigers baseball, heading into spring training, and things are starting to progress as we get into game action on Friday. Started off right off the bat. You've got the defending AL champs, you've added Torii Hunter, you sign Anibal Sanchez. What are some of the strengths of this team, and what are some of the weaknesses heading into this season?
I think even bigger than Torii Hunter and Anibal Sanchez is the return of Victor Martinez. Him adding to that lineup that they had last year is going to pay dividends worldwide. There's not going to be a come from behind late season surge. They're going to outright win the Central, no problem at all.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the more overlooked things, where some of the struggles they had last season was that they didn't have that number 5 hitter after Cabrera and Fielder. Martinez certainly provides that, and now you've got Hunter in the number 2 spot. Certainly looks like a formidable lineup. One of the potential weaknesses for this team looking at is the bullpen, though. Obviously, there's the questions about the closer. You know, what are some of your thoughts on the bullpen as a whole, and then the Tigers pitching as a whole?
Their pitching as a whole is going to be probably pretty dominant throughout the season. You got Verlander, of course, and Sanchez. But I think the bullpen is going to be good because you're going to have either Porcello, probably Porcello sitting back there, and you're also going to have Phil Koch, which I think if the rookie can't finish up with the closer position, Phil Koch can come in and be fine with it.
Yeah, I think the biggest question is Bruce Rondon, a guy you were alluding to, can throw 100 miles an hour. Will be very interesting to see how that progresses, and if he doesn't pan out, we'll see how Koch reacts to it. I think that is one of the biggest issues heading into the season for them. Any thoughts on, you obviously think that they're going to be Central champs. Is this a team that can win it all?
I think the only team in the American League that can stop them is LA. But I think that team's going to have their own issues with a little bit more of hot air going in with Josh Hamilton. But I think legitimately they're going to win the AL, and the National League I think is a toss-up. It just depends on how it goes, whether your basket cold in October or not.
Exactly, yeah, as we saw that last year. Now heading into NHL action now, the struggling Detroit Red Wings. Right now this team cannot score on the power play, probably their biggest issue, but let's start off with some of the injuries and how that's affected this team's ability to get consistent scoring, and has that been the biggest issue for them so far?
I think scoring's fine. You're going to always have leaders like Datsyuk and Zetterberg who can find ways to score and get players around them to score. But I mean, when you have Johan Franzen out, he's a top 6 forward. He's injured right now. Bertuzzi's injured. It's his back, so that's going to be a little hard for a 38-year-old to be coming back from. But I think the main thing is the defense right now. They're 25th in the power play.
Who needs to emerge from that defense? Are there certain players that you're looking at who maybe aren't fulfilling their promise, or guys that they get back from injury, that you think really can make a difference for them going forward?
If I knew that, I'd be on the coaching staff. But one guy who I'm not very comfortable with just watching on the ice, he doesn't look comfortable on the ice, is Jakob Kindl. I kind of fret every time I see him handle the puck. He's got out there with Kyle Quincy, who, you know, he's a veteran defenseman. He can play, but Kindl's just, seems like a little timid when he's out there. But he's in my bullseye.
21 straight years, I believe, that the Red Wings have gone to the playoffs. Does this streak continue? Looking at, you know, we're you know, already more than a quarter of the way into the season. Is this a playoff team?
Actually, look today, right now, they'd be sitting outside the playoffs looking in. You would hope with the return of some of those injured, and hopefully they have the salary cap to make a big deal for a big-time defenseman, and that's what they're going to need. They lost a huge chunk of their defensive core with just one guy leaving, so it's gonna, and well, Stewart left too, so I mean, you have two big pieces of the puzzle, and they're gonna need to bring in somebody to make that back up.
That's gonna do it for this week's edition of the Pioneer Sports Scouting Report. Be sure to tune in next time as we take a look at the boys basketball districts and the CCHA playoffs.